USC crew, if I recall correctly, Alan.
That's a good possibility. They both put up an outstanding run down our course here, and in enjoying the beauty and synchronization of our San Diego Crew Classic, we'd like to remind you once again that DVDs are available of individual races. The DVDs are available in our merchandising tent just about an hour after the finish time. So if you have a crew or an individual that you have a particular interest in, and stop by the merchandising booth and look into purchasing a DVD showing all the color, excitement, and synchronization of our San Diego Crew Classic 2008.
Just see a little bit of sculling here as we get ready for this premier event, the Jessop-Whittier Cup, the best collegiate women's crews in the country for an early season matchup. Doesn't get much better than this in terms of this early in the season to see this number of top-notch women's crews going at it straight up. Shot there of the Stanford University women. Hand in the air indicates they're not quite ready for an alignment. You've got a boat that's well over 60 feet long being pointed down a buoy marker lane that's probably less than 28 feet wide. Tough job for the coxswain, particularly sitting in the back and down lower as they are. Last minute alignment going on as we prepare for the Jessop-Whittier Cup Grand Final.
Stanford, USC, UCLA, Washington State, Wisconsin, Washington.
Push out hair. One pull in, just a hair, one pull in.
A little bit of cross breeze there as one boat aligns and gets moved back and forth. Several others will drift off. Thus the oarswomen here are handing off to the oarswoman in front of them to scull the boat over, keep it in position without pulling it off the stake boats. Some young high school kids volunteering on the stake boats all day out there, hanging on to a mast that can be 1,500 to 2,000 pounds of momentum. Pretty tough job for those kids.
And we have a start, but Stanford had their hands up when the starter dropped her flag and had to rapidly put their oar back on, or hands back on the oar. So they might have had a slightly uncertain start there, but they've all got away. It looks like the University of Washington in uncertain territory, unusual for them out in lane 6, might have grabbed a very slight early lead. Stanford certainly didn't get the start that they would like to have done, and as we go through the first 150 meters, it's the University of Southern California in lane 2 and the University of Washington in lane 6 who have grabbed the early lead, but they're being closely tracked by UCLA in 3, and Stanford are fighting their way back into it. In lane 4, Washington State have had a steady but unspectacular start, and in lane 5, Wisconsin have a little bit to do, but they're overlapping. As we come through the 250-meter mark, it's USC who have pushed out to a lead of about 3 seats over the University of Washington on the far side. Stanford are struggling to get back into it. They're sitting up, they're pushing strong, they're certainly moving back from their slightly unsteady start. And it's UCLA who are also pushing Stanford for that 3rd slot as we come to the 500-meter mark. At the 500, it's USC by about half a length over Washington, Stanford, and UCLA, with not much back to Washington State and Wisconsin.
At 500 meters, once again, checking our lane assignments, it is Stanford University getting off to a little bit of a weak start in lane number 1. Pulling out of lane 2, our current leader at 500 meters is University of Southern California. Lane 3 has UCLA. Washington State is coming out of lane number 4, Wisconsin out of 5. And Washington University is coming out of, that would be the University of Washington coming out of lane 6. Our call at 500 meters, USC, followed by Washington. Then comes Stanford, UCLA, Washington State, and Wisconsin.
Our leader, USC, moved out to more than 3/4 of a boat length at about 700 meters gone. This is a very international crew, very strong recruiting classes for USC. Solid program across the board, evidenced by their rowing and their position in the race at this point. Shot there of the Stanford women crew. At this point, USC has not been able to quite shake Washington and Stanford, giving them hope. Great close-up of a fine women's crew, one of the best in the United States.
Our crew is approaching the 1,000 meter mark, and it continues to be USC. All the way on the outside, Washington, Stanford on the inside, and they're very close to one another. In the center of the field, UCLA, Washington State, and Wisconsin trailing, but they are pretty even as they come through 1,000 meters.
Moving into 7:50 to go. Our leader, USC, rowing on LA Harbor. They've got the lead. They've taken it from the start. They had a blast off the starting line. Their vantage point now is they can see the rest of the crews, all crews in the race. Their coxswains calling out their position. They know they're well on their way here, barring a move on the outside by Washington for a Jessop-Whittier Cup championship.
They are approaching 1,500 meters, and the University of Southern California continues to hang on to the lead. They had the best preliminary time at 6:27. They were matched almost exactly by Washington State, but the Washington State crew falling back just a bit. USC being challenged on the far outside by the University of Washington.
USC is the defending champion here for the Jessop-Whittier Cup, hoping to repeat their performance from last year. As we move into 350 meters to go, Washington is putting on a strong move out in lane 6. Keep an eye on the Huskies.
It is USC on the near side coming out of lane number 2, and they currently have a command, but watch on the far outside. That is Washington. Washington State has kind of snuck back into the hunt, and trailing in this would be UCLA on the outside to Wisconsin and along the shoreline to Stanford. On the outside, watch Washington. On the outside, Washington has made a move. USC struggling to fight them off along the shoreline. It is Washington, USC, and Washington State. On the far outside, an excellent move with about 250, 300 meters to go. It is Washington on the outside making a move along the shoreline. The leader from the outset, USC. They are almost dead even, bow point to bow point as they come through 100 meters to go. Washington State beginning to fall back. Stanford pulling up on UCLA. At the finish, watching for the crew out of USC on the outside. However, Washington very tight on the outside. Washington making a huge move with about 300 meters to go, and we'll watch it closely. It is too close to call. Washington and University of Southern California putting on a spectacular show for us. We'll wait for the official result.
Fantastic move by the University of Washington. Whether it paid off or not, we'll have to wait. But about 400 meters in, they put on a furious sprint. They just had that look in that boat that they were not going to be denied. Let's see how it turns out.
The beauty of San Diego Crew Classic rowing can be captured on your own DVD, and this outstanding finish of this race That DVD will be available in about 1 hour. We're looking forward to the start of the men's collegiate varsity invitational grand finale. It'll be the University of Washington in lane 1. Berkeley is out there in lane 2. Harvard will be pulling out of lane 3. Their rival in the Ivy League, Yale, will be in lane number 4. That's Stanford out in lane 5. Northeastern is in lane 6. And Princeton University coming out of lane number 7.
This is a stellar cast in the men's Copley Cup, revitalized this year.